Ladies and gentlemen, let's for Gaming Telecom video. We're going to be taking a look at Crysis 3 running on a GeForce GTX 780 Ti. Now I'm running this on an EVGA version of the card, which is ACX, also known as SuperClocked. I'm going to show you guys the graphics options because we are running at 8 times MSAA with everything at the absolute highest. And the purpose of this is just to show you guys the frame rate more than anything else. Probably going to do another video at some point as part of a larger review, which is going to be showing it with a somewhat less crazy level of anti-aliasing. Now, of course, the primary focus of this isn't to play good, but I'm going to be basically showing off loads of chaos so you can see just how smoothly everything runs.
Sector 1, Delta 0.
I'm pretty sure that we'll all agree the 40 frames a second. By the way, just so you're aware, I'm pretty much running this card at stock with the highest boost possible. Now, just to clarify, I have modified the bias of my card. Now, to give you the rest of the specifications, I'm just going to kind of cower for a moment. There we go. Good to always have plenty of life, because we don't want to die. As I was saying, so the rest of my system is an i7 Haswell. That would be the 4770K, I'm sorry, and it's a bit difficult to talk while I'm getting shot to absolute buggery. But the card is actually flashed, so I'm not running this with the default BIOS. Now that basically means that I can actually get more out of the card, but I'm not doing that. I'm basically running with stock clocks. Give or take a megahertz or two. So pretty much this is what you can expect on default. Alright. Thanks for the advice. With the power of magic and sparkles, that is how I'm firing that.
Okay, you got Cell's attention. Suggest we move out immediately.
So pretty much, as you can see, despite the fact that this is a rather punishing level of anti-aliasing, which I don't think many people would really ever need in games, to be honest, you're still getting a pretty damn nice amount of frame rate. I mean, you're still getting like mid-40s. Which, considering everything, is pretty damn impressive, at least in my personal opinion. Let's just drop that so we can actually move at a reasonable pace. You see the bullet in your head? Yeah, definitely see that.
Up, Prophet. Cell reinforcements en route.
I like Cell's reinforcements. They're my buddies. Ow, ow. I don't think they're like me though. I'm not sure. Perhaps I'm mistaken. Perhaps they do love me. I are the cloaked target, indeed. I'm sorry, that pleases me far too much. So anyway, as I said, mostly focused on just trying to cause some random damage. But frame rate is pretty damn stable, and I'm incredibly impressed with this card. Now obviously it's pretty damn expensive as of the time of recording, because pretty much buying this in like the peak of its lifespan. And to be honest with you, in most situations at 1080p, how do I find it? Well, actually it's pretty damn sweet. Metro 2033 and of course Last Light also all run pretty amazingly. 3D Mark, I will of course be putting these all up as full reviews anyway, but 3D Mark just runs absolutely ludicrously well. Fire Strike is like 5K on default clocks. Now I have actually overclocked the card a lot more. I've actually gotten it to about 440 to 450 megahertz overclock on the RAM, which is pretty ludicrous when you consider just how much memory bandwidth that is. You can actually start getting to the point of about 400 gigabytes per second on this card. And in addition to that, the point I'd mentioned, on the core clock, you can hit about 300 to 310. Now, you do start to getting a few black marks / rendering issues at that, which I think are voltage related, because despite the fact, yes, I've increased the power target.
How'd you find that gun?
It's not important.
What do you mean, how did I find it? It was laying on the floor.
You know what you're messing with.
Son.
Come on. We'll cut through the tunnels to the train yard.
If you just move out the way, I can show the people the awesomeness. Anyway, as I was saying.
I'm almost there.
So, yes, we're waiting for Psycho. Nothing's different. So anyway, as I was saying, basically speaking, the frame rate on this card is pretty damn impressive. Metro 2033 runs great. In terms of overclocking, yeah, you're gonna hit power wall problems past, like, I'm gonna make a pure guess, about 300 megahertz on my card. Now, obviously, your mileage will vary a lot. It's going to really depend on just how lucky you are with the silicon lottery. But of course, generally speaking, the GeForce GTX ties overclock fairly well, from what we understand anyway, because they're pretty much cherry-picked anyway. But if you unlock higher voltages, which of course you can do, you can quite easily go to like 1.3 volts, but it's probably not a good idea if you value your card's longevity, because honestly, what starts happening is you start to impact the VRM, the voltage basically on the board, and can basically fry some of the chips on it. Therefore, it can pretty much render the system inoperable. Now, I'm not saying that's always going to be the case, but for most people, if they're just looking for subtle overclocks and they're not, you know, putting it underwater, that type of thing, you know, if it's just air, oh dear. If it's just under air, then you're probably not going to want to do that anyway. And honestly, I think the 300-ish megahertz that I'm getting on this are pretty damn insane anyhow. And I think by the time that I really need to get more, especially out of like 1080p, then you're probably going to want a new card anyway. But as I was saying, in regards to something that's slightly different, higher resolutions / ludicrous levels of MSAA, you know, the card definitely shines. FXAA, you can see the frame rate, by the way, in the top left, just in case you haven't noticed it until this point. But I imagine most of you would have. Frame rates on FXAA are pretty ludicrous, and anything that's not basically MSAA, which of course is one of the most punishing things you can do with a card, it pretty much is asking your card to do just about everything that it can do in this game. But with FXAA, frame rates definitely go a lot higher. You know, you could be hitting 70, 80 frames a second in many cases, which, considering this is Crysis 3, absolutely the highest setting at 1080p, is absolutely just insanity. At least I think so, anyway. I understand that for a lot of people, they probably don't really want to be paying this kind of money for a card if they're at 1080p, which is understandable. But this does mean that you will be able to play titles like Crysis, Metro, and so on, with absolute no difficulties at 1080p, and certainly I will be doing higher resolution comparisons as well as part of the, I'm just going to skip that, as part of the fuller thing, fuller review. I'll be doing some downsampling as well, downsampling comparisons for you guys. So there's going to be a lot of shiners coming up, and as some regular viewers may know, particularly, that doesn't sound good, does it? I'm back here. I want to shoot you. Yes, quite.
Psycho, I've seen attacking us.
Yeah, I know. Stalkers. Tell me about it.
Huh.
This isn't going to plan.
Alright, cool. Ah, some of these guys you can actually rip the energy suits out and use it on your suit, so I was kind of looking for that. So anyway, as I was saying, yeah, oh, that doesn't look good to
Maybe
me.
you're right. They're behaving like animals. No hive intelligence. So where's the alpha cell?
Save it. I'm boxed in by stalkers and cell. Cut through the engine shed and meet me job site.
So pretty much on RGT we're going to be doing a lot of hardware comparisons and so on soon. Regular viewers will know that. But I just wanted to point that out. We're going to be doing a lot of hardware reviews, which I think is kind of one of the cool things actually, and definitely something that we've been wanting to do for a while now. But certainly we're going to be focused a lot more on it. PC hardware. It's not just going to be like super duper duper high end stuff either, because I realise a lot of people just plain don't want to pay that for a graphics card, which I think is fair enough. So of course we're also going to be covering I'm just kind of messing about here, sorry. We're also going to be covering stuff like lower end graphics cards, like the GeForce GTXs, that type of thing. And the R7s from, of course, AMD. The mid-range kind of cards as well will, of course, get a good look in, because, well, there's a lot of people who want to look at that stuff, which is understandable. So, I think we can all agree that the game just looks absolutely amazing with 8x MSAA. In the full review over the next couple of days, I'll also be putting a super duper high resolution version of this, so you can download it, so you can enjoy it in all its glory. But it really, honestly, when you're seeing this game at 1080p with MSAA of this level, it's just, it's pretty damn impressive just how amazing this looks. I mean, honestly speaking, it's definitely one of the nicer looking titles out there anyway, but with MSAA, this level, it foliage, textures, everything else particularly, it just looks pretty damn incredible. And I'd of course encourage you to be watching this on a desktop. I mean, even the fire, for example, just looks incredible. So definitely one of my favourite titles actually from last year. You know what, this guy's starting to perturb me. Okay, he's just not dying, is he? Ow, okay, that was just not very smart. I was basically just standing there getting shot to crap, which is not really the ideal way to play the game, as you can imagine. But even so, just quickly go up here, I'll take this guy, a couple of guys out, and then I think that's about it for this particular demo. And it definitely should give you an idea on if you're interested in picking up the card. My personal opinion, if you've got the cash, it's well worth it. I certainly wouldn't recommend going like SLI at 1080p or anything like that, because obviously that's just becoming ludicrously overkill. On the other hand, if you're doing 1080p and doing a lot of downsampling, then maybe that's a possibility. But other than that, for 1080p, it's certainly not really worth it. It's more worth it if you're using like 1440p, kind of a higher resolution.
Send reinforcements!
In which case, yeah, you know, you might want to kind of make that decision. But honestly speaking, I am absolutely in love with this card. It runs pretty damn well. It's pretty silent, at least my card, which is obviously not a reference to cooler design anyway. As I said, once again, using the EVGA SuperClock ACX. So I'm certainly not using the reference cooler, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty quiet anyway, as well as the reference cooler is fairly quiet. So there's certainly no issues there. Obviously, I'm sure most of you have heard of the R9 issues, which, to be fair, have been fixed quite a bit now in terms of non-reference coolers. Obviously, for a long time, AMD were being blindsided by that. But, of course, there are other considerations with both AMD and Nvidia. Obviously, you've got Mantle now, which is definitely a major plus for AMD. I mean, for example, I'm sure a lot of you have heard the benchmarks regarding Mantle, and it's certainly doing fairly well. Okay, well, that's somewhat disappointing. Alright. Ow, ow, ow. You know what? I'm gonna be mean. Look, my good sir. You know what? You're just not being cool at all, really. Ah! Oh well, I'll try to hack it in the meantime. But anyway, I think that just about does it of my messing about and just, you know, completely screwing around on Crysis. But I think you kind of get the idea. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care, my friends, and bye for now.